Hello, I'm Matt and welcome to Badger Workshop. The sun seems to finally be here, so I thought it'd be nice to work outside and build something that I could sit outside on. So I'm going to make something you've probably all seen on Pinterest, and that's a 2x3 or 2x4 bench, but I'm making mine out of 2x3s. So I set up a stop on the miter saw and then cut some bits down to the length I want. It kind of goes together with finger joints, so you need one piece the length you actually want the bench to be, and then the next piece needs to be that length minus the width of two 2x3s that are going to be the legs. I'm not sure that made a lot of sense, but when it all comes together you'll definitely see what I mean. So again, I can set up a stop and cut all those bits I need. The bench is going to be 8 2x3s wide, so I need 4 pieces at the full length and 4 pieces at a slightly shorter length. I cut the legs using the same principle. 4 at the full height I want the bench to be, and 4 bits that are only 1 width of 2x3 shorter. I really had to think about that. Again, you'll see what I mean in a second. I've got no heating in the shop, so when the sun's out I want to take full advantage of it. I got these sawhorses from Axminster Tools and Machinery. When they're not in use they fold up really small, but they're quick to get out and set up. The height of the legs is fully adjustable, so if I was putting a thick top on, like the bench top I made the other week, then I could have it set lower, or if I'm just going to cut down some sheet goods on it, I can have them up quite high. I'll leave a link to where I got them from down below. To make them really strong and stable, and to give you a really nice platform to cut sheet goods on, they fit in a couple of 2x4s into these slots. I plane these ones down so I get really nice snug friction fit. Now when I get some sheet goods delivered, I can set this up outside and break them down before taking them into the shop. But for today I'm just going to use this as a workbench so I can work in the sun. We'll start with gluing up the pieces for the top. So I want to use this bench outside, so I'm using a waterproof glue. I want to try and keep everything as flat as possible, so instead of gluing it all up in one go, I'm just going to do a couple of bits at a time. One of the shorter pieces and one of the longer pieces get glued together, and then I use a 2x3 to make sure it's offset for the legs. Should be exactly the same at both ends. When I'm happy with the positioning of it, I can get some clamps on. I need to do this 4 times for the top. The legs go together the same way, but instead of having it offset the same distance each end, it only needs to be offset at one end. After the glue has had a bit of time to dry on the first ones, I can then glue the 4 bits together for the top. I have this straight edge that clamps on, so I use that just to help align one side. Then I can get some clamps on and leave it to dry while I move on to working on the legs. So, just exactly the same thing with the legs. In my next shop, I'm definitely insulating it properly, draft proofing it, and getting in some kind of heating system, probably a wood burner. When it's so cold, it's really hard to get the motivation to go in there. Plus it's not practical. Wood glue won't set at low temperatures, and neither will some finishes cure. Plus having hands that numb that you can't feel isn't very safe. The next day when the glue had dried, I could pass all the pieces through the planer. I'm not saying I designed this, but I certainly thought about how to do it, and I wanted everything to be under 12 inches so it could pass through the planer. Right, the moment of truth. Will this all go together? took quite a lot of time to actually get the glue into all the joints. I couldn't find my little silicone pastry brush that's really useful for doing this, so I just had to use my finger. Still quite a tight fit and needed a little bit of persuasion to help it go together. If I was to do this again, I'd plane and joint all the material first. When I picked it up at the store, I had gone through the whole rack and picked the straightest pieces, but clearly some bits were slightly bent. If I'd taken the time at the beginning to make sure everything was the same dimension, I think this stage would have been much easier. But luckily, it all went together with no splitting. After that little persuading session, I could get it outside and get some clamps on. I used my 12-inch speed square just to make sure the legs were actually square, and again, used a little mallet, give it a little tap to square everything up. When it was dry, I could give it all a sand down. It wasn't too bad because it had all been through the planer first. I had some decking oil left over from one of my hut builds, so I applied a couple of coats of this, as it is going to be sitting outside, though I'm probably not going to leave it out all year round. If you was worried about that, you could have done this whole project using treated timber. So that's it all done. Now I just need to test it out. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more videos.